Welcome back to Ride the Stream. We're here to talk about Lost Season 2, Episode 11, titled The Hunting Party. I am here with my podcasting partner in crime, we'll say this time. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to talk about this episode. I think
Yeah,
it'll
this was
be
the flashbacks were not an easy watch in this one. Like
mm-mm.
weren't easy to watch, and I don't know if we got too much out of it other than I don't know. Jack being, I'll say weird for right now. We'll dive into more adjectives in a bit.
I'm sure we will. I like you, I felt adrift. I felt adrift in this episode and I kind of felt like it was a little bit of a transition episode again, maybe. Like I felt like some of the things that were said um felt more like it was set up for payoffs down the road. Like I feel like the writers are usually really good about being seamless, and I felt like there was a little bit of seams showing showing through with this one that I kind of struggled with. And then it kind of like, why were we shown this?
Yeah.
So, um,
Especially, I would say the last time we saw Jack, he was getting married, and
mm-hmm,
and now we're seeing this like what happened between the marriage and to this episode to show like this disconnect between him and his wife and
yeah,
uh so very bizarre. If you're ready, I can dive into the synopsis.
sounds good. Yeah.
And we can get right to it.
Mhm.
Let's see here. The 11th episode of season 2, flashbacks to Jack's life as a doctor, where he's asked to perform surgery on a patient that his father believes isn't a candidate because the tumor is directly on the spine. The daughter and Jack spend a lot of time together discussing her father's prognosis, and after a great deal of testing, he finally operates. Despite being able to remove all the tumor, his father tells him that 7.5 hours on the table for an older, sick person led to his heart giving out. His father also tells him that he needs to make sure he doesn't cross a line with the daughter because he sees what chemistry has been developing under the surface. And when Jack leaves the hospital, the daughter is actually waiting for Jack to thank him despite being quite upset. He apologizes to her. They hug. She kisses him. They kiss each other. And when he pulls away, she actually says, "No, it's okay." But he leaves saying, "I can't," and goes home. He tells his wife about it and realizes their relationship hasn't been the same, and he's going to work less and focus more on communicating. But she's leaving him. Her mom has already helped her pack, and she's seen someone else, and it sounds like she's been seeing someone else for quite some time. And as she leaves, she kind of gives him an extra little kick, saying he always needs someone to fix. Uh, Back on the island, Jack finds Locke unconscious, knocked out in the armory, and then Michael points a rifle in his face and says he's going after Walt. He locks them in, and after some time, Kate and Sawyer arrive to the bunker so Sawyer can get a new bandage. And after hearing them behind the locked door, Kate enters the code in the computer while Sawyer enters the combination as Locke shouts through the door. Jack, John, and Sawyer go after Michael, but Jack tells Kate she cannot go and must push the button. Long story short, surprise, Kate gets Hurley to cover the hatch while she goes and catches up. Also, Jen wants to go, but Sun isn't having any of it and says she will never have to worry about him again like she did when he was on the raft. And after a quick back and forth, Jen drops his bag and listens to his wife. After searching for a good part of the day and with night set in, Locke believes they should head back. Jack accuses John of not wanting to find Michael, despite the fact that they heard gunfire earlier and they actually ran towards it.
Hmm.
But a mystery man appears from the forest and tells Jack that he should listen to John and go home. This man, let's call him Boat Guy, is the leader on the boat who took Walt. And when it looks like Sawyer's about to shoot him, someone in the jungle fires a shot and grazes Sawyer somewhere in the head, maybe his ear. Boat Guy tells the trio that the island is their island and that they should drop their guns and go back before things get worse than misunderstanding. But again, surprise, surprise, Jack doesn't care about that. He refuses to budge. And he even tells him he thinks that this new bearded boat guy is the only one out there besides maybe a guy with a gun. And then, of course, the guy shouts. The entire jungle lights up with torches surrounding them. And he brings out a bound and gagged gate. And Boat Guy is going to kill her if Jack doesn't decide to leave. And he gives him to the count of three. I'm guessing everyone knew he was going to get to the count of two before he ultimately told them to stop and dropped his guns. After Sawyer and Locke drop their guns, the man picks them up, pushes Kate towards them, and backs into the jungle as all of the torches are extinguished and everyone disappears. Kate is upset and tries to apologize to Jack, knowing he's pissed, but he apologizes too. When they get back to the camp, he makes a beeline to Anna Lucia, knowing that she killed one of the others, and he asks her, quote, "How long do you think it would take to train an army?"
Hmm.
And that's an episode. I know we touched on this right before we started recording
Hmm.
about your initial thoughts on the episode. Um, so if you want to like rehash, go through like the experience of this episode, knowing that it's Jack's a lot in this episode. Um,
Hmm.
very antagonistic to everyone. Uh, like, and then in the flashbacks, it's I don't know. It's like I don't feel like there was a lot to go on in the flashbacks. We just got this like untold history that took place. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I struggled. Yeah, so before we got on, in our green room,
yeah,
um, yeah, I struggled with this episode because for a few reasons. One, I felt like there was no connecting with Jack in this episode. He was a real a-hole as far as I was concerned. I just thought he was nasty, not a nice person. I struggled to really kind of connect with the reasons that he was motivated to take the action course of actions. Um, I think I can surmise that he's mad at Sawyer because Sawyer said that he loves her, but he didn't say that he loves Kate. So, Jack is making an assumption that Sawyer was talking about Kate. And right now, that's what we have to kind of make an assumption as well.
yeah,
Um, but obviously, Sawyer doesn't remember that because he's like, "What? What'd you say?" And they bait and switch and went off onto something else. The other thing, at some point, Jack says, "Well, if Michael is hurt or killed or missing, then it's on John and Jack for losing Michael." Which I can kind of get, but usually the flashbacks and what's going on the island kind of, you know, mirror each other. They help
yeah,
to bring understanding. And I just feel like, well, was the point that Jack has to always be fixing something? Is that the point that we're supposed to take from this? Is he out to prove something that, he's not the miracle worker that Sarah said that, he is or, was when he was a practicing doctor. Um, I struggled too with the fact that his father, which John Terry, great, he's always great as Christian, Jack's father. But him kind of, taking the road that I'm going to save you, son, because I can see you have chemistry with this woman and you're married and you're not having a good relationship with your wife. So I'm going to make sure, you're not going to cross that line, which
Yeah.
maybe that's the point because the leader of the others says, I'm drawing the line in the sand right here. You cross it, we go from misunderstanding to something else, is what he says.
Yeah.
So, is that what we're supposed to take from the flashbacks? I'm just not really completely sure. I just really struggled to feel like I was on board with what Jack was doing, and kind of like I think I kind of fell in the camp of more with John and him saying, kind of questioning, Jack, what are you doing? What's your motivation here? Try to explain it to me. Because even John, as much as he was struggling to, you know, keep on the path and make sure that he could, find which direction that Michael was going, which we wonder because he's going north, he's not going east back towards the beta group. We do
Yeah.
know that much. Um, yeah, I was kind of with John on this one. Like, what's your motivation? Or is it revenge? Are you like, do you have something to prove about manhood? Or, what?
And like, how are you
I'm,
going to bring Michael back?
yeah,
He's clearly beyond reason.
yeah. And then at the end to then say, oh, well, how long will it take you to raise an army? Well, uh, now you want everybody to take up arms because you've got this group on the island that yeah, they're not great people, but if you don't cross their line, you can all kind of coexist, I think. Maybe that's naive of me. But yeah, I just struggled. I'm not real happy with this episode insofar as that I feel like um I was kind of like, what? What the F? What the what? And then the other thing that I think bothered me too, where like I was alluding to at the beginning, where I felt like where they're typically seamless about things, why the conversation John brought up with Sawyer at that moment to ask him about his name. That felt really contrived and forced. And that's like the first time where I really, really felt like, okay, what are you setting up for down the road? With the fact that John knows his name, or is it just a red herring? I don't know. But I felt like that was kind of like forced in there, and it didn't, I don't know what the purpose is. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
But I just kind of struggled with this episode and what it was trying to do. Um, it sort of answered some questions, but sort of didn't. Um, and I just was like, Jack, why are you being an a-hole to Kate? You know, uh,
Yeah.
I just, at the end of the day, I was like, Jack, you're not a very nice person, you know?
Yeah.
And
Sawyer even calls him on it.
yeah, like, yeah, they, it was their little triangle of like, well, what's your motivation? What's your motivation? What's your motivation? It's like, okay, what is your motivation?
And Sawyer was just like, hey, what did Kate do to you to be so pissy? Like,
Yeah, and when the leader, I think Sawyer called him Zeke. I don't know why he called him Zeke, and I was like, I didn't remember. But when Kate was pushed back towards them, she was pushed back to Sawyer. And Sawyer, untied her and everything. Was gentle with her, you know. And Jack was just unapproachable. He was just, again, a-hole.
yeah, it's like if they didn't have Kate, was he just planning on him, John, and Sawyer just being killed there because he refused to leave? Like,
Yeah.
it's like it doesn't make sense. Um, but I the only thing that makes sense is that we've seen Jack be unreasonably stubborn before.
Hmm.
Um,
That's true.
when Claire and Charlie were taken, and him and Locke are running through the jungle, and Locke realized they've been taken. He's like, I think we need to go back, formulate a plan, have a couple of scouting parties. We don't know who's out there. We don't know how many people are. And Jack's just like, tell me which way they went because I'm gonna go. Like, cause
Yeah, and I'm like, and that worked out so well for you last time. You didn't learn, and you didn't
yeah,
learn this time.
yeah. And his and I don't know. Part of it makes me wonder, is part of it like his ego? Like
I
not
wondered
being, I
that too.
can't, it's like you can't tell me. It's funny. Like Jack motivation of like, oh, I'll convince Michael to come back. And John says, who are we to tell him that he can or can't go after his son? Like,
Exactly.
and that's John's line, like, don't tell me what I can't do. And then
Hmm.
it's almost like if someone does that to Jack, um, or maybe that's the trigger for Jack when he hears it. It's like, nope, I gotta, I gotta keep going forward. I gotta do the opposite or whatever. I don't know. But it was clear that John was reasonable in his assessment of, hey, it's dark. I haven't lost. I don't know where he's gone. We don't know who else is out here.
Hmm.
And Jack accusing him of not caring is, I don't know. It's just that doesn't make sense to me. Just maybe he
I feel
just
like he
thinks
was
that John
being
always wants to.
really led by his emotions, and kind of his own dealing with his own baggage, I guess, where I feel like maybe that's the theme is, you can't tell other people what to do. They've got to they've got to make their own decisions, even if it's not the best decision for them.
Yeah.
Um, and I do think that that was kind of a reoccurring thing through this episode because we even get that between Jin and Sun because Jin wanted to go and try to help find Michael and be part of the party to bring him back. I think he just wanted to find Michael and try to help him because I think
Yeah.
their friendship is very genuine. Um,
And Sawyer, he grabbed the gun saying, I'm going. Like,
yeah, but we do kind of wonder what his motivation is because he did get shot by the boat people. So I'm going to reserve judgment on that. But between Jin and Sun, I know Sun said, hey, I really don't want you to go. I was so worried about you, and look what happened. You were taken, you were, held prisoner, this and that, whether she knows that or not, but we know as the audience. And the fact that, she basically had to say, I'm your wife.
yeah.
So, and he did. He put his bag down and he didn't go because his responsibility is to his wife. And I mean, in a way, you could read that as well, that with Jack and his wife, he chose his career and trying to be a miracle worker, Sarah's words, instead of staying home with his wife meets somebody else and she leaves him, so there's a lot of layers going on. So I mean, we did have that theme kind of keep coming up.
And I like the follow up the next day where Jin tells Son, I don't like
Yes.
being told what to do. And then she retorts like, well, that's how I've been the last 4 years being told what to do, and I didn't like it very much either. And he agrees, and he's like, "Oh, I guess
Yeah.
didn't like that much at all." And then, but he gets closer and puts his arm around her, and they smile. And I was like, That's nice to see. Like that's what seems like a relationship that had seen some issues from
Hmm.
his time working for her father and, seeing them kind of distance themselves based on like his work schedule or how they were communicating. But I don't know. It's nice that, the cliche of the, not cliche of the show, but like, something Locke has said, like everyone gets a second chance on the island, or I think a couple people
Hmm.
may have said that. And
Yeah.
it does seem like now that he's come back, that maybe that this is where they were meant to get to in a
Hmm.
relationship wise from the start without the interruption of the father and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So I really liked seeing that part.
I did too. I'm happy that their relationship is back on track and that they've learned from that separation, that they really do value each other. Sometimes it takes a drastic event to kind of reset your emotions, reset your respect for that other person. If you're in a relationship and you're, feeling like it's the same old thing, So I do like how that message was conveyed through Jin and Sun. And alternatively, we see what happens when it's too late. It's I don't want to say too little too late because that's, a typical cliche, but the wake up call for Jack came too late, and he even said, at one point that, washing dishes was cheaper than going to a therapist. Well, maybe this is a case where maybe if you'd spent some money, you wouldn't be having a divorce. So,
Yeah. Um, and that's a I think that's a big part of the, I guess, structure of this episode that's challenging because of the not knowing, not seeing Jack and his wife's struggles or them falling apart and just seeing the end result. Um,
I felt a like we miss a lot of context. Like, he this is where I feel like, well, it would have been helpful, I think, to see some of the happy moments because even in the season one flashbacks where he was getting married to Sarah, he questioned whether he should marry her and
yeah,
he had doubts. So now we're however long down the road and they're getting divorced, and we've never seen Jack be comfortable in that relationship. So it is kind of hard to be really kind of like connecting with that because we didn't get the fibrous tissue that we needed to connect and fill that loss along with him, or to
yeah,
fill that even that his commitment or reassertion of his commitment to his relationship is genuine. I think we didn't have that in this episode. I think maybe that's part of the crux of the episode is that we couldn't get to what was genuinely the motivations behind all these people. We were left wondering and left us adrift. Like I said at the beginning, that we didn't have any sort of compass per se, not enough, So I did feel like a loss of connection with with the people and their motivations. And we can flashbacks are meant to kind of help us to understand their motivations or where they're going, why they do the things they do. And it was hard in this one.
yeah. Um, I think on the flip side, going back to Jin and
Hmm.
Sun, I also they didn't have a lot of screen time. I like something as simple as her putting a sun hat on him and he kind of just like, and Hurley comments, "Nice hat, dude." And he
Yeah.
understands enough to where you see him look at his hat and he kind of just
hmm
like
Yeah.
rolls
I
his
look at
eyes or
like a
whatever.
dork, I know.
Um, but he was also able to kind of uh deduce that Kate and Hurley something was up. And he mentions that to Sun, and she's the one that approaches Hurley and finds out what has happened.
Yeah.
Um, so I like those little moments that show like Jin and Sun, I think, are both quick to pick up on things that are
Yeah.
happening around them. And I think it's equally impressive for Jin, especially since there's a language barrier. I know he's knows some, but and then Hurley and Charlie in the bunker with some records and uh
Yeah, I enjoyed
Geronimo.
that too. I liked how they were sitting there and they're talking about girls and I enjoyed that exchange because it felt like this is, just kind of one of those nice pauses to help us to kind of like decompress and kind of re-engage and that was really fun.
Yeah, Hurley saying he talking about thinking Libby's cute,
hmm
thinking he has maybe a shot with her because they're, worst case scenario, they're stranded on an island. It's probably the best chance he has. I think that's how he kind of phrased it.
Yeah,
Uh,
he says, "Oh, well, this is the classic desert island scenario." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I liked that."
and we got a Saeed sighting.
Oh, I know. I put in my notes. I'm like, "Saeed, yay!" I was so
So
happy.
I'm hoping because I know in our last episode you mentioned how maybe he hasn't been present because that makes sense because he's been grieving.
hmm
So maybe seeing him again um, gives us a little bit more of okay, maybe he's starting to come back to the group and we'll see him more often. Um, because I think some more level-headed minds might be needed to counter Jack's mentality here.
Yeah. Yeah. It should be very interesting to see what goes on with that because, will he be on board with this army that Jack wants to do? It seems like he's kind of been able to come to terms with Anna Lucia, and losing Shannon insofar as that it was an accident, even though she was a little on the trigger happy. But, I think, you know, they'll be able to cross that bridge. Um, Yeah, we'll see. I was just happy to see him. I thought it was so funny when he says, "Oh, this music's kind of depressing." We can change it, dude. We can change it. But
uh,
it was so funny. And I had to look up Geronimo Jackson because they made such a big deal about it. And it sounds like it's a fake band or something from the 60s or something. I just did a quick little look up without trying to find out. I have to be careful about some of those references.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
no, no Mr. Echo this time. We definitely
right.
focused in on kind of a few people. Um, yeah, we kind of had, our handful of people that we had sightings of. So hopefully we'll have a bit more sight in the next episode and see. And of course, I'm curious what the flashback will be because we've gotten what, three of Jack now? Is it three? Or is it more than that? It just, he is a main character.
Yeah. There's
So,
it's been I think three or four.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I am hoping with Saeed's appearance because they tell him what happened and that the quote they said like everybody's out looking for Michael and Saeed's like who's everybody?
I know, I like that too. I thought that was real subtle, but it also goes to show how people talk, and it kind of calls attention to, Hurley's like, oh, everybody. Well, who is everybody? Because he needs factual details. He
Yeah,
doesn't need generalizations that Hurley or Charlie would give.
yeah.
No, he needs the facts.
And I thought it was interesting because him asking makes me think that his character thinks, well, I'm usually the one who would be one of those everybody.
Mm,
So maybe
yeah,
that
that's
will start to
true.
like trigger, all right, I need to like get back into being
Hmm.
a part of like helping people survive and
Yeah.
especially with the encounter with the boat guy and
Yes.
his crew. I'm assuming once Saeed hears about that, he will be like, okay, those wheels are going to start spinning and he's going to be part of this whatever action or defense or whatever that Jack has in mind with the army. Um, so, um,
My hope regarding that and Jack's desire to build an army so he can go crush the others and bring Walt and Michael back and probably learn more about the island because the others have lived there for longer than 50 days. Because the leader seems to make a point of, you've been here 50 days, huh? We've been here for, well, I'm not going to tell you how long we've been here, but this is our island.
yeah,
We've staked a claim on this island. This is ours. So are they from the Dharma group? Maybe they're that mysterious other group, the third station. Who knows? Or maybe Danielle's group from 16 years ago. We don't know yet. I I am really curious about, we didn't have a good communications. We had kind of the phone communications, the telephone communications going with some important details the last time around. So I am kind of curious, are they going to do a big powwow with everybody, and just be transparent across the board and say, this is what's going on. This is
yeah,
what I think. They've survived 50 days. Everybody, I think, needs to know that information. And they need to have the opportunity to say whether they want to be part of this army that's going to defend their place on the
yeah,
island, um, and that they can feel safe from the others who like to pick off people. So, because they knew about John going in into the bunker, because they even said, well, some people are going, going through the wrong door and stuff like that. So I am kind of curious how Jack is going to approach this, um, because he's got to have John and he's got to have Sawyer on board. He's got to have Saeed. He's got to get it right with Kate. And I, I'm hoping that they will involve others, everybody else in their
yeah,
groups, because this should be, everybody should be involved in that decision, not just the higher echelon of the two groups.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, boat guy seemed to know a lot. He
Yeah.
knew that obviously they were in the bunker. He knew John had a second gun in his pocket.
Mhm.
Uh, it just the little details like that. It's like, okay, is that group presently just keeping their eyes on the survivors? Like, so they know. who's doing what, has names, all this stuff. Like,
Hmm.
so it makes it interesting to see, okay, as little as the survivors know about this other people, boat guys crew, like
Yeah.
what exactly do they know? Because he even said like Michael would never find them. Um, so and like, well, where are they? Like, so there's a lot to uh still unravel. Maybe we can take a break and then we can get to a couple of our questions.
That sounds good.
Hey everyone, just a quick break to say thank you for watching. If you'd like to support Michelle or I, we have links to our works, social media in the description below. Um, Ride to Stream is our kind of fun gig where we get to take a break and do what we're going to do anyway and just record it. And if you can spare some time to follow us on social media, where you can find our other creative works, that'd be great. And that's it. We'll get back to the conversation. We are back talking Lost Season 2, Episode 11, The Hunting Party. Um, I think this episode had not a lot with the flashbacks, and a lot of the episode focus was with Jack, John, Sawyer on their trek to find Michael, with a little bit of bibs and bobs here with Sin and John, Sin and
Sun and chin.
Kin and Son. I got that tongue tied there. Excuse me. Um, Charlie and Hurley. Um, did you watching the characters, did you find it easy to think, oh yeah, this person's definitely like the most interesting character from the episode? Or if we dive into our questions here, I think I'm going to question two. Uh,
Yeah.
did you have a easy time with that?
No, I did not. You?
I I could have meant just for brief appearances, I could have listed several more characters.
Hmm.
Um, but I actually just I stuck with three this time, which is a small list for me. Um, I mean, I thought about mentioning, you know, uh, Hurley just for his interactions with Jin's son and Saeed and Charlie. I
Hmm.
thought about, you know, Jin just for the expressions he had about wearing the hat. Seeing Saeed again, I was like, oh, hey. But I did not put them on my very short list.
You did not. Okay. Well, I'll just go to the one I picked because oh, we're gonna have lots of kitty cat sightings today. So yeah, so you probably saw ears of Cecily. Black cat is Cleo. That's Max, and then the tabby that came in just before him was Sam, and they're brothers. I mean, they don't look alike, but they truly are brothers. But no, I actually went with Sawyer. So I felt like um, I think he did a. I liked his portrayal. I think his motivation was a little more transparent than anybody else. Um, I mean, I guess I could say Locke in there as well, honestly, with my reasons for going with Sawyer. Um, but like Sawyer, when he was asked about the name, he didn't feel like telling John his whole life story, especially up on the mountaintop.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I think Sawyer connected more for me, and it was about making some connections this time around. I didn't pick Jack. I because I just didn't feel he was likable And I mean, he can be
Same.
likable and he can be kind of a good leader. And I just really struggled to say, yes, I could put him as that. And there's Cecily. Full Cecily sighting instead of just the ears or the tail that's in my face. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of, a short answer, but yeah, I went with Sawyer. I felt like his motivations were more transparent in part because I did feel like it was revenge, for him, even though he didn't have to say it. I do feel like that was a big motivation for him to go um, on the warpath after Michael. But that said, I don't think that he necessarily knew that Michael was going to run into the others, the boat people. I mean, well, actually, no, he probably did, and he has an axe to grind with after getting shot in the shoulder and almost dying. So
Yeah.
I think he's justified in that. I think it was harder to align with Jack because I just don't know. I don't know why, other than to say, oh, I don't want to lose him on my watch. Well, it's not just you, dude. And
Yeah.
everybody knew that he wanted to go after his son. So he wouldn't be, nobody would fault him for it.
Yeah.
So it was a struggle. So that's my long roundabout. Wait, Sawyer.
I like Sawyer in this episode. He's on my list.
Hmm.
I I have a I don't disagree that he wants revenge. Um, I have a little bit of a different look at it based on when they were on the other side of the island
Hmm.
and Michael went off to find his kid. Jen was like, "Hey, we got to go find Michael." And I think Sawyer read the room like, if I try to go out after him, I'm gonna die because I am near death right now. And he phrased it like, I gotta look out for myself. Like I'm not gonna be any good dead. And him being on the mend, heard that Michael went out, go after Walt again.
Hmm.
It's like, not that it was a second chance, but I think if he was in the same position previously and he was actually like in good health, he would have
Hmm.
gone after Michael. I think he would have because
Hmm.
they were having that like kind of kumbaya. Hey, we got to stick together. We don't get out of the pit. We don't know what they're going to do. So it's like they were forming that kind of like small bond. Like, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's still there, especially after Michael, told him like he was glad he was okay. Um, I think the revenge is kind of like the cherry on top for him. Like where he's like, all right, we're gonna go find Michael, and maybe I'll get to shoot someone if we run into the others. Like, um, and his reaction is back to Sawyer, where Jack tries to tell him like he's not going. It's like, well, like you're still taking antibiotics. Like he's like, well, good thing I have my doctor going with me. Like,
Hmm. No, that's true.
um,
Yeah.
so that was, and maybe that's being too hopeful.
Yeah.
Maybe revenge is the top tier. Um, but I do like Sawyer. I think he probably had the best insight into Michael's point of view. Because clearly John didn't recognize that, oh, he was going to get hit in the back of the head when he wasn't looking. And John was also on my list. I'm gonna go somewhere different. I'm gonna
Hmm.
say most interesting character. I'm gonna give it up to Boat Guy. Um, just because it's different. I like the way the creators presented him on screen,
Hmm.
kind of initially in the shadows. We hear him before we see him. Um, and he calls Jack on his stubbornness when Jack thinks that boat guy's all alone or just has a single guy out. And whole jungle fills up with torches. I should have just paused it and counted, but I felt like there was at least like 20
Yeah,
somewhere in
it
that.
felt like there was 20 and it made a circle around all of them. I mean, they were totally surrounded.
Yeah. And I guess I like the unknown of what he represents, because clearly he doesn't mind taking children from their parents for whatever reason. He called Walt special,
Hmm.
which I feel like that word has been used for Walt before. Um,
Yeah, I think the stepdad said that he was special.
and it alludes to this, mystical nature of the island, and with John and this Walt had this ability too, with like, you know, he was angry with his stepdad and mom at one point, and a bird flew into the window, and he was looking at a book of birds.
Yeah.
The comic book was thrown into the fire with the polar bear, then a polar bear appears, and it's like, and then he has the knowledge to like, when Michael says, "Hey, we can stay on the island," and Walt's like, "Nope, we gotta leave." So there's some kind of like mystery behind Walt and him also appearing in images with Shannon and Saeed covered in water, and
And on the
um
computer.
yeah, so there's a lot of unknown. And but if Boat Guy has Walt, does that mean we'll get an answer to some of those mysteries? And I'm giving it to him for that reason. I did have John and Sawyer as my uh
Hmm.
honoraries. Again, John with the voice of reason, you know,
Yeah.
Sawyer giving up his gun, but telling the guy, you and me ain't done, Zeke, or something.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and Kate's performance, you can mention just when they take the gag off of her, like she is clearly distraught. Like she was
Hmm.
scared. Like, so that, I mean, even in the time that she had, she was like nailing the performance. So
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think in my notes I said she was genuinely seemed like she was genuinely rattled. Like it felt like a genuine performance. Like she really thought maybe that was it, that Jack was gonna not say, okay, I give up, you know. Um, so
and for them to like sneak up on her, because she's one of the more capable people on the island.
hmm. Hmm.
And, I mean, obviously they had greater numbers there. And so maybe that amplifies the fear for her in that moment. But
And I'm
yeah,
curious what she knows since they had her for a little while. I am kind of curious what she gleaned from that experience. Like, did she, will she tell the group, yes, I saw Walt and Michael, um, or is the group that she is with just part of their hunting group? We did hear the name Alex, and that is Danielle's son's name.
I was wondering about that too. I forgot about it until you just mentioned it. It's like, yeah, was that a
That
throwback? Is
is
that
her
the
son's name. Yep. So anyway, yeah, I'm kind of curious what information she's gleaned from her being held captive. And of course, we don't hear anything. She doesn't like say, "Hey, gang, let's powwow on the way down the mountain." Instead, it's like, "Jack, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Get over it. Let's let's get to the meat of what that
Yeah,
experience. What did you gain from that, you know? But
yeah. Um, well, segueing from character to scene,
hmm
um, were there any scenes in particular that jumped out to you that were like, yep, these were
um
awesome, or this one in particular was
yeah.
my favorite?
Yeah. I mean I had I think I kind of had four for different reasons. I have my main one, but I know that like we talked about, so one of the ones that's on my list that's kind of a honorable mention is, Hurley and Charlie, with the records and talking about girls, you know, that they Hurley thinking he's got a shot with Libby, and Charlie just being concerned about, you know, do you think she misses me? To which Hurley says, dude, it's been a day. It really just puts everything in perspective. It was lighthearted,
Yeah,
um, and it just goes to, I like when they're on the screen together because usually it's something kind of nutty. I think one of the last times they were on the screen together is when Charlie had Aaron in his arms and he was trying to get Aaron to quit crying. So Hurley, like, oh, I'll sing,
yeah,
and he sang some rock song or something, and just very cute. They are good together. They've got good screen chemistry.
absolutely. They have like best friend vibes all the way.
Yep. So that's one of my runner-ups. Did you have kind of a main one and then some runner-ups?
I again, I tried to be,
Oh, you went try to be succinct here, huh?
so I had three,
Okay.
which I think was different from the previous episode where I think I had like almost a dozen. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, uh, so I didn't pick one yet.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to like highlight what your favorite was, and then we can go back and forth.
Sure. Do you want me to list another that was my honorable mentions?
Sure. Yeah, you can go through
Okay.
your whole thing.
I thought it was heartbreaking as far as, well, it should be heartbreaking, but it seemed so clinical. But when Jack just finishes trying to recommit to the relationship with Sarah, and then he's holding her, he's crying, she's got wet hands from the dishes, and she like almost comes up with her hands to put around him, but then she kind of backs off and then tells him that she's leaving him. I thought was, you know, a pretty good scene. Uh,
Yeah.
and just like you said, you know her kicker of, well, you always have to be fixing something, that is who Jack is. So I actually thought that was a pretty good scene, pretty short, but it definitely conveys, the relationship is over, and there's a disconnect. I think that would be probably mirrored in the earlier flashback when she tells him that she's late. So she does a pregnancy test. And I think they're both relieved. Yeah, it's not said
Yeah.
necessarily, but just that I think they're both relieved that it's negative for different reasons. Like, we find out, oh, she's been having an affair. So she's glad that she's not pregnant. He's probably glad she's not pregnant because he's probably not ready to be a dad and is on iffy ground in the relationship. So I think probably those two kind of go together, bookend well
Yeah.
together.
And that scene with her at the end, when she tells him, um, she says, you will always need someone to fix. She pauses, I think, like she says, you will or you will always, and there's a pause there.
hmm
And when I heard it, I thought she was gonna say, you will always be special or important to me for what you did. And then
Hmm.
I'm surprised when she actually says, you will always need someone to fix. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like,
Yeah.
so that was unexpected. Even though I've, seen this show a handful of times, whatever. But that threw me off
Yeah,
because that
it's
was hard.
interesting that she's like his miracle, and that garnered him attention, in his profession. I mean, and obviously that's why Gabriella and her father were there in the LA hospital, was not to talk to Christian, but to talk to Jack
Yeah.
because he performed this miracle. And so they really wanted to talk to him, which I thought was an interesting shift away from the doctor with all the experience to the younger doctor who had a fly-by-night miracle happen. And we could argue, well, that's because Desmond, and his recommitting or something, to believing that he can actually do it.
Yeah.
uh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, the other kind of runner-up that I had is when Jack talks to Anna Lucia, where she just, he's basically trying to get confirmation of one, that she killed one of the others,
Yeah.
and that she was a cop. So she's got training, because now he wants to go after these people because he's got a hard on for them, you know. Is it to save Michael and Walt? Is that his primary motivation, or is, he got bitch slapped, so now he's out for some blood, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
where it's kind of like, okay, I still don't know, is his motivation genuine, Michael and Walt, or is it, you know, ego? So,
Yeah. And we don't know if Anna Lucia is even in the right space to like
yeah.
be in that position because she, accidentally killed Shannon. But, that's a
Well,
major, yeah.
yeah. And I guess he probably went to her because of the fact that she supposedly killed one of the others, but she might have had help. That might have been Mr. Echo helping her, or being part of that success, being part of that success story. Um, but Saeed also has a lot of experience. So I mean, they've got a lot of experience they could actually pull together, you know. That's where I kind of think they need to have a kind of come to Jesus transparent conversation with the entire group. Okay, what
Yeah.
is all of your strengths across the board? What does everybody know? So that way they can gain an upper hand. And I think the other thing they need to be concerned about the fact that the others know so much about them, but they don't really know anything about them.
Yeah.
So how are they going to get the upper hand? Uh, and it kind of like is feeding into, this strategy of guerrilla warfare. The fact that the others know the island and our group really doesn't. You
Yeah.
know, they've been around to different places, and funnily, when John asks, "Hey, does this area, does this look familiar?" And
Yes.
Sawyer, in his smart way, says, "Oh yes, I'm so familiar with that leaf," you know. And John says, okay, when you were walking back or when you were coming back, which side was the ocean on? And that's when Sawyer kind of like straightens up. Okay, we're being serious here. I will try to be serious. And he kind of points which direction, and leaves the sarcastic criticism, at the door on that
Yeah.
question. So, but
I really
yeah.
like that scene.
Hmm.
Um, because not only is it's funny, but you get the John's wheels turning and he's figuring out, okay, where were you in relation to the water so we can figure out is it different from where Michael's going now? And they figure out, oh, well, that was east. He's going north.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly something is amiss. We don't know what Michael knows, but he's going on a straight path. So I really like that scene. That's that's one of my um favorites of the episode.
Yeah. The other thing that's kind of interesting, kind of arising out of that, is that Michael did not have that much time for Walt to tell him where he's got to go. Because almost immediately when Michael was typing, "Where are you?" and he's getting an answer from Walt, Jack is walking in, so he doesn't get very much time. So
Yeah.
it's got to be, I'm just surmising that maybe it's a landmark that he's going towards, um, that we're not privy to, because even though our hunting party is looking around, they're not making a connection. So
Yeah.
we're not getting the connection presented to us. Um, so
Yeah. Um, was the which did you say your favorite scene yet?
mm-mm.
Okay. I want to make sure I wasn't
No, I
so
did
into
my
the
run.
conversation that I actually wasn't
I
paying
did
attention.
my Travis, 5 runner-ups.
I love it. I love it.
No, my favorite scene was the forest scene, particularly when the leader says, "Light them up, boys," and then all these lights come on around,
Yeah.
and just that whole scene was pretty tense. When the leader knows a lot and conveys that he knows a lot. So, I mean, good call to say that he was your most interesting character. I just thought that that entire scene was just, very well done, very tense, very suspenseful. Um, doesn't give us a lick of answers.
Uh,
Just intensifies the mystery of what the hell's going on. So that was mine.
yeah, that's it's hard not to pick that one. But that's the one I had that I mentioned listed first.
Hmm.
So that's probably my top one as well. I also like the lead into it where John is trying to get them to go back. Jack's accusing him of like, oh, you don't lose trails, you just don't want to find Michael. And John says,
Hmm.
oh yes, I've been searching all day for him and running towards the sound of gunfire because I don't care about Michael. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and he's spent more time with Walt than Jack. Like he had a
Yeah.
relationship there. Um, and their back and forth distracts them from their surroundings. Not that they would have seen the
Yeah.
guy, but hearing his voice come up when you're staring at them, and they kind of like are
Hmm.
searching out. Great reveal. So yeah, that'll be my top pick too, for favorite scene. And there's just so many unanswered questions, but even the looks on Locke's face, because he's kind of trying to assess what's around them when the lights are off, what's around them when the lights are on, uh, gauging Boat Guy when he tells them about the bunker and having a second gun. Like, I feel like John is cataloging this information and trying to assess, all right, how much danger are we in with this Boat Guy group? Where
Hmm.
Jack, he's just tunnel vision fury.
Hmm.
He doesn't want to do anything else except charge, charge, charge. Um, and Sawyer with his, cheeky comment about, ain't
We're
being done
not
with
done
Z.
yet.
Yeah. He, and I believe him. Like,
Oh yeah.
So that scene's great. The only other scene that I had listed, the third one, I just really liked the scenes with Jin and Sun. Um,
Hmm.
I just thought they were part of the, even though their conversations were intense,
Hmm.
um, they had the quirky moments and the loving moment at the end. And I just feel like that's really good to see. Um, I do have a question, a third question. If we can, I know we're probably going to wrap up in about 10 or so, but regarding the others or the guys group, what do you find more interesting at this point? The smoke apparition or the mystery of that or the mystery of this
Hmm.
other group?
I think the smoke is very, very interesting, but I think the more dangerous is the others group. I think they pose the more interesting and more mysterious aspect because human nature, I mean, it's hard to sometimes guess what people are going to do. Um, and the fact that we know, even though we now have a face for the others, um, it did little to kind of resolve that. I feel like the
Yeah.
smoke, it's also dangerous, but we've also had Mr. Echo. Come on, Cecily. We've also had Mr. Echo kind of stare it down.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure really what the actual threat is. I mean, obviously, I'm making again. I'm kind of assuming that it's coming up out of the ground, and that's where this dirt and dust flies up from is because this thing's coming up out of the ground somewhere. Um, yeah, I'm really more curious about the others and where they're from. Um, and then of course how the smoke, the black smoke thing ties in with it.
Yeah.
Um, are they all in cahoots and that kind of thing. And I'm really, really curious whether this group is part of the Dharma, that third station on the island. Or yeah, I'm kind of thinking that, when did the Dharma get there versus like when did Danielle's group get there? And more about this others, you know. So, and will Danielle be back in the picture since, will anybody say, oh yes, the leader said Alex. So will there be connections about that name? Will they connect that? you know. Um, so I feel like we kind of get the reveal along with everybody else, but we're getting to see we're getting privy to certain conversations that not everybody necessarily knows, and sometimes that's a little surprising when something comes up and I was like, oh, I thought they knew about that. Ooh, I
Yeah.
knew that, but they didn't know that. And that's happened a few times in some of the episodes.
Yeah. Like
What about
that's a like that information is something that's like, okay, well, if Saeed hears that, he'll recognize the name and he would
yeah,
probably put two and two together.
yeah.
So
And
um
and I know that you know what's transpires because you've seen the entire series. But when you were at this point, what were your thoughts when, the hunting party came face to face with this other group? What were your thoughts?
uh similar intense. I think
Hmm.
you nailed it. That very just unsure of like, okay, even when it was just boat guy by himself,
Hmm.
his him being unafraid of what their reaction would be to revealing himself said a lot to me. I was like, this guy doesn't care what they're gonna do. Like there's something clearly going on, or
Hmm.
um, and quickly after, Sawyer gets shot. But it just I feel like it says a lot about, I guess, position of power on the
Hmm.
island, that this boat guy is just like, you guys have no idea who you're dealing with.
Yeah,
This isn't your island. You know, you know, don't walk into our home with your shoes on and put your feet up on our table, eat our food. Like, he was very transparent and being
believable.
threatening without
Yeah,
necessarily. I mean, until they shoot Sawyer. Just um
poor
but
guy.
yeah, I think I had a similar reaction to you. So
Yeah. And I definitely believed the leader of the others, like, oh boy. I love the analogy actually. Well, what if you're a stranger and you come in somebody's house and take your shoes off and you put your feet up on their coffee table and you go into their refrigerator and this and that. And of course, the survivors didn't know really about them. I mean, they kind of knew of them,
yeah.
but they don't know what their position of power is on the island. They're just trying to survive,
Like, dude,
so
we survived a plane crash. What do you
yeah.
what do you want us to do?
And how did they end up on the island? Because was it a survival of the fittest? Is it the Dharma group? Did they intentionally go there? You know, um, all a lot of questions unanswered until the next episode, maybe. I
And
think this is a long game, though.
yeah, I think we're gonna have to wait for the next episode. And on that note, I think we'll uh hit pause until the next episode. For everyone joining, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you have it on the background, please like and subscribe to our channel for all future content. And if you have any comments, who your favorite character was from this episode, favorite scene, just make sure to give a little spoiler alert tag if you mention anything beyond this episode. Um, I guess until next time, we will see you on the flip side, and we'll be back.